All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, thank you. The Friday recorded audience is my favorite recorded audience. Albert, I just sent you a private chat. I like to send you things privately. I don't want everybody to know all of our business, but it is, it's special. And
what?
I said I love you, and there you go.
What?
Now you know. All right. I mean, I've said it publicly, but I like to send the private message as well. Great to have everyone here. We've got a really packed show from the standpoint of guests. I have two guests in the first hour, and one of them is our kind of throwback piece of nostalgia. The great Professor Andrew Fraknoi will be through. He is the Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan of our time. I guess Neil deGrasse Tyson would be the Neil deGrasse Tyson of our time, come to think of it. Okay, it doesn't quite track out, everybody, but you know what I'm trying to say. If Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson had a baby, that baby would be Andrew Fraknoi. Yes, that's really what I'm trying to say. So, Kim is here as well. And
Kim, how are you?
She is watching all things all the time. So let's get it on. Bill Clinton is... in this committee closed-door hearing. Both the Clintons wanted an open-door hearing. They wanted a public hearing. But they get a closed-door hearing. That way you can curate exactly what information comes out of the hearing, and that was something that is... This is such a political exercise. It is taking political exercises and redefining how obvious and extreme they can be. But not to say that you can't bring in Bill and Hillary Clinton if that's your jam. But, you had Lex Wexner in. None of the GOP Congress people showed up for that one. He was the guy with Jeffrey Epstein, may have animated so much of the empire that was Jeffrey Epstein. He again, testified. There's a whole Q&A, and no one attended that. But everybody shows up for the Bill and Hillary Clinton thing because it's a political, it's a paparazzi fest. And so everybody can make statements, etc. Meantime, the guy who shows up in the files more than anybody, he's just chilling in the White House reviewing an executive order that he may impose and is being suggested. We actually talked about this, that might invalidate the mail-in vote completely, and by doing so, suppress the vote in the midterms, claim a national emergency. All of these things are reviewed in a 17-page document that is being pushed on the White House and Donald Trump to help them seize control of the midterm election. So anyway, while that's going on, you've got these two, Bill and Hillary Clinton, who are forced to testify before this committee. Just because I'm on it, I've got news from Iran. I have news of the Paramount deal and the further seizure of media in America by the controlling party. So you'll essentially have wall-to-wall propaganda, fewer and fewer places to get information. Independent media like this will be an outpost for the moment. But even places like this, and even those forms of independent media that you've grown to depend on, may be affected. So this is a process. It's an evolution, and it's a dangerous evolution at that. But because I mentioned Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, I can start there with the Epstein mess, and I will in a moment. Before I get too deep into things, I do want to mention that we have a...
The Mark Thompson Show.
We have Friday Fabulous Florida coming. That is in hour 2. We also have the boys coming through, Michael Shure and Mo Kelly, and they will give us a sense of many of the things that we talk about and perspectives that I think are clearer and sometimes coldly analytical in ways that you just won't find elsewhere. So really excited that they are here too. I thought I had some business to do. Do I? I've lost track of the business. All right, the Coachella Valley coffee, I'll just mention I'm drinking it now. It's otherworldly. Kim drinking the tea.
Put that coffee
It is
down.
part of the greatest roastery I've ever come across. They are the richest, most delicious taste experience I've ever had in a cup. Check them out for yourself. It's all organic and ethically sourced from women-owned farms. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Knock around there. There are tasting profiles around all the beans. Everything's hand-roasted and curated. This is not a discount roastery. This is a boutique roastery, small business. They really do it right. I'm so proud of the work they do, and I'm proud to have them on the show. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. When you check out, use our discount code. You'll get 10% off CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. The discount code is MARK-T. MARK-T for 10% off. So there you go.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Only because I started with it. We will continue. The Epstein mess gets messier and more political by the hour. The controlling party in Congress brings in Bill and Hillary Clinton. They fly over the White House and Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files like a bad smell. He's literally mentioned 1 million times. Allegations brought by a credible witness, credible enough that the FBI interviewed her 4 times. The allegations are deleted from the Epstein files. So MAGA Nation, who wanted this huge Epstein file dump, can't be happy with that. Meantime, they're trying to make political hay, the GOP is, of the testimony of Hillary and Bill Clinton behind closed doors so that they can, again, manicure and choreograph the information that comes out of that hearing. Here was Hillary Clinton talking about what was said and what went down.
I have just finished testifying. I answered every one of their questions as fully as I could, based on what I knew. And what I knew is what I said in my statement this morning. I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance. But whatever they asked me, I did my very best to respond. It was disappointing that they refused to hold a public hearing, so I wouldn't have to be out here characterizing it for you. You could have seen it for yourself. We had asked for that. We think it would have been better for the committee and its efforts to gather whatever information they are seeking. We had a bit of a challenge in the beginning because we had agreed upon rules based on the fact it was going to be a closed hearing at their demand. And one of the members violated that rule, which was very upsetting because it suggested that they might violate other of our agreements. So we had to cease the hearing for a period of time until we could get assurances that no rules would be broken going forward. And we returned to answer questions repetitively, literally over and over again. I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times.
Are you 100% confident that there isn't anything that the former president knows about Epstein's crimes?
I am, and I think the chronology of the connection that he had with Epstein ended several years before anything about Epstein's criminal activities came to light, and that he was charged and sadly given a sweetheart deal, which, as I said in my statement, had that not happened, perhaps his predatory behavior could have been stopped earlier. But I think it is fair to say that the vast majority of people who had contact with him before his criminal pleas in 2008 were like most people. They did not know what he was doing. And I think that that is exactly what my husband will testify to tomorrow.
Yeah, so that was Hillary Clinton. And again, I think she can credibly say that she didn't have much to do with Jeffrey Epstein or anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. You know, it's pretty defensible based on everything I've seen. And Bill Clinton clearly had interactions with Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein was the overlap with Jeffrey Epstein and very powerful people is substantial. We'll get to more of that. The one thing I would, just real quick before I get to Professor Fraknoi, I would play Robert Garcia, who's Congressman Garcia from California, play me cut one. As he came out of this hearing, he expressed frustration. And the frustration is, you know, you guys call Bill and Hillary Clinton, but this is, and that's really all you show up for, but you don't show up for the Lex Wexner testimony. And it appears that you have no intention of calling members of the administration like the President of the United States, who's all over these files. Quickly, here's Robert Garcia.
Right now, where the missing FBI files are. These are files that accuse the President of the United States about serious accusations around sexual abuse. And the fact that they're not in the files and have been apparently either removed or discarded is incredibly concerning. And so
this
we're
is
calling
true. And so this
on
is what I was
Attorney
talking
General
about
Pam
when
Bondi
I
to
said that the FBI met with the alleged victim of Donald Trump's sexual assault. Again, this is alleged. They met 4 times. And typically you would meet 4 times with a credible witness. Yet there's only one of those times that's chronicled. The other 3 are deleted or missing. And that is new reporting just last week. We've been following it here. I gave you the story when it broke from the Washington Post, I think broke the story initially. But anyway, that's part of what has appeared to be on the part of the Department of Justice a curation of what you're seeing beyond any kind of basic redaction that was talked about. Here's a second Garcia cut, and then I want to bring on Professor Fraknoi.
I want to also add that this committee has now set a new precedent about talking to presidents and former presidents. And we're demanding immediately that we ask President Trump to testify in front of our committee and be deposed in front of oversight Republicans and Democrats. And that should happen immediately. He is the person that appears almost more than anyone else in the committee, and it needs to happen right now. Mr. Chairman,
I mean, that really is true. You can't argue with that. That's essentially what I was saying.
I mean, if they have Clinton up there, then that does set a precedent for presidents to get Trump in there, right?
Yeah. Phineas says there is a GOP congressman holding a press conference chastising the Clintons for not coming forward sooner, claiming they were stonewalling. Well, there was, thank you, Phineas. The only stonewalling going on, of course, was, I don't mean to pick sides here, but I think it's pretty easy on this one. They were asking for an open hearing, a public hearing. Let the public see exactly what's going on. And of course, the GOP didn't want this because they wanted, as I've suggested, to manage the information that came out of the entire thing and the testimony. So that's where that sits. I'll get back to this in hour 2, but I wanted to just visit it here quickly.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Our time is so horribly short. It is, it's like some kind of torture to be told I have little time to talk to this guy. As I said, if Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan had a baby, it would be Professor Andrew Fraknoi. He's an amazing mind with a terrific ability to communicate complex astronomical information to us lay people in the public. He's the emeritus chair of the astronomy department at Foothill College and currently teaching at the University of San Francisco and San Francisco State. How about it for Professor Andrew Fraknoi?
Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm trying to figure out the biology of being Sagan.
I thought you'd either like it or hate it, so I'm glad we're on the like it side. It's so true. You know how I feel about you and your ability to communicate this stuff. So look, our time, we really kind of shoehorned this little visit in today because there is an event coming up, an astronomical event, and I wanted to hear it from you. Tell us what's happening.
Well, so there is going to be a total eclipse of the moon visible from all of continental North America. And it's going to be the last such eclipse visible until 2029. So the good news is it's going to be an easy to see event. When the full moon goes dark, it's safe to look at. The bad news is that it's in the middle of the night.
Now, what is the middle of the night, Andrew Fraknoi?
So from the Pacific time zone, what happens in this eclipse is that the shadow of the Earth falls slowly on the full moon, and the full moon gets darker and darker and darker. And that sequence takes a long while. It's not a quick event. So we start the first shadow falling on the moon at 1:50 a.m. The eclipse becomes total, where the moon turns blood red from the sun's rays bent by the Earth's atmosphere, and the red is bent better than the blue. So that total eclipse starts at 3:05 a.m., is over at 4:03 a.m., and then the shadow moves completely off the full moon at 5:17 a.m. Well, those are times that most of us like to be asleep. My goodness, 3:05, 4:03. So if you're going to get up because you're an astronomy fan, the time I would recommend is maybe getting up around 2:45. Get yourself a little less bleary-eyed, go outside. And at 3:05, the eclipse becomes total, and you see this blood red moon in the sky. So stay up another 10 minutes or so, and then you can go back to sleep by about 3:15 and catch up on the rest of the night's sleep.
Is there a term for? Is it just called totality when the
yeah
okay.
The totality here will last almost an hour. So that's good. You don't need any kind of 3-minute warning, oh my God, it's only going to be like the eclipse of the sun can last 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Here we have a long phenomenon, and you can go outside anytime during it. And the good news is that the moon will be high in the sky, so most of us will have a good view of it from our backyards.
So there is a lot of good news with this total eclipse. The bad news is the timing, it sounds like.
It's just a very inconvenient time on a Tuesday morning. Most people are working or going to school, and it's hard for them to get up. But I think this will be covered by all the media.
Sure.
Because it will be a very beautiful event. And so if you don't get to see it in person, maybe check out the pictures on the web, like some of the older pictures you see here. The beautiful pictures our staff is showing. It shows you kind of the beauty of going from a full moon that's being eclipsed to this wonderful red sphere just staring at you from the sky, and then back again to the full moon.
The moon is a sort of a wondrous thing, just as the Earth is. I mean, Earth is such a rich, wondrous thing. I mean, with so much life and so much in the way of habitat and biodiversity. The moon is this sort of the opposite in one way, and yet there's so much intrigue about the moon since the beginning of time, right?
That's right. I mean, people have been very fascinated by our having a moon that large in the sky. We have, compared to the size of our planet, one of the largest moons in the solar system. So it's really been quite a sight. And the nice thing about eclipses like this that I always tell my students is you can do a real experiment with the moon for kids and grandkids. Look at the shadow of the Earth as it slowly moves across the full moon. And you'll see that the shadow is round. And the ancient Greeks, thousands of years ago, noticed this and said, look, every eclipse of the moon, the shadow of the Earth has been a round shadow, perfectly round. What is the shape that always makes a round shadow from every angle? It's a sphere. Therefore, is it possible that our planet Earth is a sphere? And that was the beginning of our understanding what the Earth was like and planets were like.
That is terrific. That's exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about you. That is just a wonderful thing. And I want to, because this is just a little drive-by visit with you, I want to ask you about astronomy generally. One of the things about the astronomical sciences is the way in which you guys deal with the vast, everything's so vast, I mean, just such incredible distances, almost incomprehensible distances, you know, and to study it seems to be like a super tough task. It's a little like mapping the brain or something, like these things that you just feel like it's going to take decades and decades and you're never really going to get there. Give me your state of the state on astronomy and science and discovery and the universe, our galaxy and beyond.
In 30 seconds.
That's why I called you in.
Let me say this. First of all, from a political perspective, we are tremendously relieved because the administration was going to cut 50% of the astronomy research budget in its proposal, and Congress put it almost all of it back. And so we hope that they'll actually be able to spend that money, and so research in astronomy will continue. We have great projects happening right now, including a project called the Vera Rubin Observatory, where we're going to take a 10-year movie of the entire sky. Some commentators are calling it the greatest movie ever made because it will have the whole picture of the sky time and time again for 10 years. We'll see every new object that comes into the solar system, every star that explodes, every black hole that has an extra large feast will become visible to us. And so we expect wonderful things from this movie in the next 10 years. And there are other projects, the James Webb Space Telescope, telescopes on the ground, which are revealing new things to us. And the state of astronomy is that we continue to have more questions than answers, which is great because that's what the wonder of science is all about.
Hear, hear. So good to visit with you, Andrew Fraknoi, the professor. And I have to say that when it comes to, you know, keeping the light shining, you do it. There's a full information sheet for all the time zones for the total eclipse. We'll have it under this video, as we will the Fraknoi homepage, which is Fraknoi, Fraknoi.com. And of course, he's lead author of that free OpenStax astronomy textbook. It's a way that students can study without having to pay for the textbook. So it's yet another way that you're making such a positive difference in this expanding universe. I look forward to a longer visit the next time. Thank you, Professor Fraknoi.
Thank you, Mark. Great
All
to
right.
talk with you.
Andrew Fraknoi, everybody. Right on, right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
He is a little piece of paradise on a Friday. Love talking to him. Thank you for your questions. Sorry we'll visit with him longer next time. I'm excited about so many things that are going on today and getting to them and discussing them. And one of them is associated with a great new book that is just getting such great reaction. And I'll tell you about that in a moment as well. You'll indulge me because I want to mention our
The Mark Thompson Show.
Our partner is it's a crazy relationship we have with a brand new sponsor, and we're really happy with them. I have them with me all the time. I have Zellman's, which is a breath mitt, and you know, Zellman's Minty Mouth, as they're called, Zelmins, for those who are just listening and not watching. It's a basic technology. It's a tiny capsule. I pop 3 at a time. You pop it after your meal or whenever you feel maybe bad breath coming on. So the outside is a powerful mint, and you get that refreshing taste in your mouth. And then the inside, really, this is where the action is and why this is different than just a breath mint. Parsley seed oil, which is designed to help fight odors by interacting with the stuff in your stomach. No artificial sweeteners, no xylitol, no preservatives. It really does work. We road tested it for a month. Courtney and I actually take it before bed, and it fights morning breath. So in your mouth, you'll get the refreshment. In your gut, you'll get the reaction. And it really does work. Alcohol-free, keto-friendly, gluten-free, and again, dual action. So order it at Zellmans.com, Zelmins, Zellmans.com. Use our discount code for 15% off. Mark T. Zellmans.com. Road test it for yourself. You tell me. Zellmans.com. Again, the discount code is Mark T for 15% off. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, I mentioned it's a book getting some great reaction, and deservedly so. This is a brilliant historian, communicator, author, Pulitzer Prize winner, Bancroft Prize-winning author of Blood in the Water, the Attica Prison Uprising of 1971 and its legacy. Her latest is Fear and Fury, and this is the book I'm talking about, getting such terrific response. Fear and Fury, the Reagan 80s, the Bernie Goetz shootings, and the rebirth of white rage. Please give a welcome to Dr. Heather Ann Thompson. So great to talk to you. I'm such a fan. And I'm first going to query you about history a little bit and this moment in history, and then I want to get into the Bernie Goetz things. Fascinating the way you lay it out to really take in so much more than the actual shooting, just the moment in time that, in which it occurred. But just as an historian, I'm curious as to your reaction in charting America at this moment in time.
Well, it feels pressing. It feels that all hands need to be on deck to figure out what in the world is going on in our world today. I mean, we are all feeling a little jarred, a little bit insecure about what the future holds. Every day news headlines give us something new to be concerned about, whether it's the kind of erosion of the rule of law or the sense when we see something with our own eyes that we're told that it's not what we just saw. So it's a very destabilizing moment. And I'm a historian. So for me, my go-to is always to think about how did we end up here? And the story is always longer in the making than we might imagine it to be. And oftentimes journalists whose work I admire so much just don't have the space to kind of really dig into the longer story of how we got here.
Yeah, and I'm curious quickly as you look back at history, because again, this is your world. If you look, as has been spoken of, toward the rise of despotism and fascism and authoritarianism in other parts of the world that might have parallels in the authoritarian creep that seems to be happening in America.
Sure. I mean, there are certain things in what people keep saying is the playbook of where we are, which is that you have a propaganda media and the rule of law gets largely suspended, as does any kind of sense that there is equal justice under the law. And of course, this is always accompanied by a moving of resources out of the public sector and taking them into the private sector at a really alarming rate, essentially lining the pockets of the people at the very top. So that is a rather universal playbook for fascism, but there are some, uniquely American elements of this story. And I think one of the most alarming is that, again, we did not birth this since 2016. This is a story quite long in the making. And sadly, it is one that takes us backward in time, really to the 19th century in a way that I don't think that we have yet fully appreciated. We treated it as if it is brand new and has left us reeling, but it's actually quite useful, I think, quite comforting almost to understand the ways in which this is American. It is kind of in our DNA, and to kind of look at it more carefully so we might find our way past it.
When you say it goes back to the 19th century, you're saying that the power grab by an oligarchical superstructure. I'm just curious to kind of run that out for a second.
Well, think about, that one of the things that was the signature of 19th century America was the combination of Jim Crow justice, if you will, on the one hand, right, where lynchings, where the rule of law is largely catch as catch can. There is a moment of deep racial terror that is largely not is normalized, right? Culturally normalized. And then meanwhile, this is also the age of the robber barons, the Gilded Age, where there's no regulations on business. There's virtually no tax structure that can support the broader public good. And, that moment was one that created so much trauma for the individuals that experienced the racial violence, but for everyone that experienced really the class inequality that takes us into the Great Depression and then takes us into the New Deal, where we believe that we have a nation that needs a rule of law. We believe that we need a social safety net for people who, when they're unemployed or when they're disabled or when they're just down on their luck, right, temporarily. And we've kind of gone backwards, but it's taken us a while to get us there.
It's funny, I'm so glad you touched on the New Deal, because I was going to say the reaction, the pendulum swing out of the robber baron era was distinct, right? But there was a kind of reset then that I think even just in a cultural memory we felt is in place, and we don't need to worry about this stuff, that the general evolution of government is going to sort of continue with that. And I think the cold slap in the face that many of us are getting is, no, you need to tend the garden on an ongoing basis. Otherwise, it can just be yanked up.
I think that's exactly right. In fact, the New Deal era, so think about from the 30s all the way really until 1980, when Reagan kind of takes the country in a new direction, that structure of government and economy was what made the American middle class. It is what gave us roads and bridges and public universities and public schools and all of the things that not only do ordinary Americans count on for generations, but it makes America great. I mean, here's, to really talk about what actually made America great. And, it was not perfect. It was, in fact, deeply discriminatory, which is why we get the 60s to try to say, look, that's an amazing safety net, but we actually need it to be there for everybody. So we get this kind of sense, I think, in the 60s that we're marching towards progress, some people more reluctantly than others. But what we didn't fully understand, I don't think, is that for very, very wealthy people in particular, they never liked the New Deal. They always resented having to pay into that broader body public, and they'd always been trying to dismantle it, whether it was to break unions, whether it was to resist paying for public housing, whatever. And the opportunity really comes for them at the end of the 70s in a way, frankly, I didn't appreciate. And then we begin kind of the slow roll to where we are today, and one that I call the long Reagan Revolution in this book. But in fact, it is all parties are a part of this, right? Clinton is as much a part of this ultimately as Reagan is. And it leads us to a place today, right, where ordinary people, we can't count on, this sense that public schools will be there. Our kids can go to college. Our children will be better off than we are. But what we have been sold in its place is, but guess what? You are angry. You get to be angry. You get to act on that anger. You get to be resentful. And that has sustained people, I think, for kind of a lot of years now, certainly since the 80s.
Yeah, and I'm so glad we're talking about the 80s now, because that is really the backdrop against which this incident in your book takes flight. And it was that political anger you're talking about, which animated a lot of what was going on. And so in your book, Fear and Fury, you talk about the Bernie Goetz shooting on the subway train, in which 4 kids, or around 18 years old, were shot. None killed, but one paralyzed. But it's more than just that. He was recognized and almost lifted in an act of heroism, and in an everyman striking back, in a sense, marshaling a lot of that political anger. But what you touch on is sort of the media sphere that it existed within, and the political sphere that it existed within, and so give me a sense of that. Give me the pastiche of madness that was defining New York at that time.
Well, imagine. So for those of us of a certain age, we remember New York, and New York in the 80s, just like Detroit in the 80s and Chicago in the 80s and so many big cities in the 80s, was really suffering from the turn to austerity politics. But meanwhile, we were being told that the reason why cities were collapsing, the reason why things were so bad, was a combination of failed liberal policies and the simple moral corruption, the thuggery, the criminality of certain people that just refuse to grab the brass ring of prosperity, largely Black and brown New Yorkers, Detroiters, Chicagoans, and so forth. And into this moment steps one particular episode of white racial violence on a New York City subway train carried out by Bernie Goetz, a white loner who comes upon 4 Black teenagers, and in a very remarkable moment, by all estimation, makes the decision to gun them down. And what is kind of striking in this moment is what gets unleashed beyond that. He goes on the run. People don't even know who he is for some time, but he's immediately lauded as the death wish vigilante. He is a hero. He will do what government fails to do, which is to protect himself and those around him. And again, what is going on, it turns out, is a real curation of a new kind of hero, all in aid, again, of this broader economic agenda. And it's essentially being promoted by a new tabloid media ecosystem that's getting more and more conservative, that is trafficking more and more in misinformation. And all of this should feel very familiar to us because at its helm, actually, was Rupert Murdoch and the New York Post, who will sort of run with this case, but then after that, will keep doubling down on this message that we need to kind of anoint white self-defense, and that will effectively become Fox News in time. And so the linear connections are quite extraordinary. The same people are on the scene in this case as will be on the scene in the White House today, right? From Trump to Giuliani to Rupert Murdoch. And so it's a incredible story, but it's one around which we can better understand, I think, the broader political shifts going on and cultural shifts going on at the time.
Yeah, it's really for that reason that the story is so fascinating. It's not just a crime blotter story. It's a real story, as you suggest, of how a political discourse changes, how white rage becomes so animated and weaponized that it builds an empire for Rupert Murdoch. I mean, he used the tabloid in New York as a springboard, but then he gained everything from the Wall Street Journal to Fox News and an entire movie studio. Now you have the acquisition of same, right, by Trump pals, allies, and it looks as though they're going to do the same sort of Rupert Murdoch dance, but now without any sort of regulatory structure in place, even tepid regulatory structure that would keep them from acquiring, again, CBS, Paramount, Warner Brothers. It's total control, essentially, of a massive chunk of media now.
Well, and see, this is the thing. I'm so grateful for you highlighting this, because, of course, what you come away from the story understanding is that was the point. That while ordinary people are suffering enormous harm on the ground, whether it is resentment and rage, or whether it is the being the receiving end of that resentment and rage, that is all going on. While meanwhile, what is actually going on is the creation of some of the worst income inequality we've had, since the 19th century, an absolute walking away of all regulations, to your point, any guardrails on the wealthiest and most powerful Americans. And, honestly, ordinary white working class people were given this quite Faustian bargain, which is, you can be angry, you can indulge in your rage and your resentment and your racism. But I do feel like we are now at this moment where people are sort of waking up and saying, the thing is, that kind of anger still does not put food on your table. It still will not allow me to send my kids to college. And so we're in this kind of precipice moment now where the guardrails are off, all the power is reconcentrated at the top. But the question is, how much will ordinary people continue to believe that that is good for everybody? Because that's what it's taken 50 years to persuade people. It was a curation. It took a lot of work to get us to believe what we believe.
I mean, there was blue skies and sunshine being blown by Donald Trump. And so in addition to the anger and the rage, which you talk about in the book, that can be weaponized in this way, and an empire, in essence, can be built on it, you have this completely empty promise, but it is being proffered by this guy who's really good at, throwing empty promises out there. I mean, many of us could look at it and go, I thought it was the clunkiest con there was. But when you're looking for, just say you love me type thing, then he was the guy who said, I love you, and I'm the guy who's going to return. So to your point, I'm mentioning this because when people are waking up, as you say, and saying, gosh, I'm angry, and this guy is an outlet for my anger, or these policies are an outlet for my anger, but I'm suffering, and he hasn't delivered blue skies and sunshine. Now you get to an even more dangerous place in the American evolution, which is there is talk that the election, the midterm election, the future of elections in America could be threatened as well by the people who are now occupying positions of power, and they are joined by the next generation of Rupert Murdoch, right? Media domination and technology domination by those oligarchs. So the tech is actually controlled as well.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I think that what's the most alarming about all of that is, as you say, it is additive, right? One moving the needle culturally then is undergirded by a concentration of power and a taking over of the media in an ever greater sense. And so it becomes a situation where, we wonder, will we in fact have free elections? Or we wonder, will we in fact ever really know what truth is if, for example, AI takes over the universe? But I do think what we have to remember, and I think this book has the seeds of it in there in no small part because it sort of rescues the story of Goetz's victims. We have to remember that this is all quite unstable. In order to want to take over elections, you have to actually feel that you are potentially going to be undone by them. In other words, there is an enormous wellspring of discontent on the ground. And so I think we need to really think about that carefully. I think Minneapolis was very important. People did see with their own eyes what was going on. And by the way, saw the consequences of a rage that's so unleashed. White people, ordinary white guy who is an ICU nurse, a citizen can be killed. A white mother can be killed driving away in her van. This is a wake-up call, and that's why it feels that we're on a precipice. It's very, very unstable, because concentrated power is not very stable if it depends on obfuscation, misinformation, and a suspension of the democracy. I just want to quickly say, though, think about New York City. The recent election of Mamdani has been so interesting because, again, it shows that Faustian bargain is, I think, wearing a little thin. And, we will see what happens. But if people say to you, but that's liberal New York. No, that's Bernie Goetz's New York. That was Giuliani's New York. So it's actually really interesting right now and important that we understand how we got here so that when we see the possibilities forward, we can recognize them, right? We can resist the temptation to be riled up and resentful and filled with rage, because the only people that benefits are the people at the very, very top who hope to suspend our democracy.
So well said. And thank you for some seeds of hope as well. What a fascinating world you remind us we're in, and the I'm talking about the world of the Reagan Revolution and all the things you talk about that were weaponized during that time and the turning point that the 80s were. It's all there in this book, Fear and Fury, the Reagan 80s, the Bernie Goetz Shootings, and the Rebirth of White Rage. I'll have a link to it under this video. HeatherAnnThompson.com is under this video as well. We will eagerly send people your way, Heather Ann Thompson, and I really hope you'll come visit again. I'm a big fan, and this for me was a real thrill to talk to you.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share this.
All the best to you. Heather Ann Thompson, everybody. Good stuff.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How great is she? How great is she? Wow.
You think it would it have been inappropriate for me to tell her that my daughter is applying to the University of Michigan? You know, give a little goose. No.
I mean, I would have applauded that.
That was very inappropriate.
Yeah, no, I think I would have been okay with it. I mean, you gotta,
I pushed the urge down to do that, so that's good.
Got to take the edge where you can. You got to take the edge.
Now she's magnificent. She's the list of accolades on her website, amazing. A Pulitzer Prize, Bancroft Prize. I mean, the list is endless, and she's really impressive.
We are adding some accolades to our website, everybody. It's not really a website. It's our new Facebook page.
What?
Yes, we'd like to be the very last people to have a Facebook page. That's why we started one. I didn't want to get in too early. I wanted Facebook to kind of roll out for a couple of decades before I jumped in.
Make sure it's worthy of you, you know.
The Mark Thompson Show, you should hear Kim and I we've tried to launch one, and then finally we got this off the launch pad, and we want you to join it. Is that what people do, Kim? They join it? Yeah.
You could join it by hitting follow. You go in, you click like, you know.
Oh, yeah. You follow, you like. Sure, of course.
Yeah. Kim, how are you?
That's the way to do it. Follow and like. The Mark Thompson Show, we're on Facebook. There'll be content there, increasingly ways to interact with us there. There is a Facebook fan page, discussion page of the show. We don't have anything to do with it, but there's some good stuff on there occasionally.
Yeah.
And you guys can join that also. But this is our show, The Mark Thompson Show, on Facebook. And I don't know that this is going to happen soon, but it might happen soon. We're going to start streaming the show there, the live show. And then when the show is done, it won't be on the site anymore, but it will be a way to bring more people to our show, which just helps build our footprint. Very important. Independent media has to get out there in a lot of independent ways. So that's the latest, our Facebook page. We're very, very excited. And what can I tell you?
It's fantastic.
I'm hoping that it's the beginning of a lot more. So congratulations on your daughter going to Michigan, says Del Mar.
No, she's probably not getting in. No. She'll try though. Yeah.
But the whole internet thing may fizzle out. Is that what you're saying? Oh, you're right. Exactly. It might just be a thing. We didn't want to commit early. We wanted to sort of just wait to see how it shook out. So now we're on Facebook. Quickly, a couple of comments.
Your comments.
Luis says, sad news out of KTLA in Los Angeles. This is a $20 super chat. Thank you for that, my friend. It's always great to get a super chat or super sticker along the way here. Sad news out of KTLA Los Angeles. Mark Kriske, along with several of his colleagues, have been unceremoniously fired. For 36 years, Mark brightened our days. I feel as I did when we lost KGO. Mark, if you have any Kriske stories, would you share them? #sad. Well, I'll just say that he's a brilliant talent. He's the weather guy on morning television in Los Angeles, and that show that he was on, largely as a result of him, changed morning TV. I'm not just overstating it. I mean, he and Sam Rubin and I'd suggest those two wings of it, Sam and Mark Kriske, they were key. But in the original configuration of the KTLA Morning News, there was Barbara Beck and Carlos Amezcua, along with this guy, Mark Kriske, and Sam Rubin. And they had that thing, that special sauce, and they did the news, but they made people feel like they were, watching a family. They were part of the family. There was happy talk, but it was a real sense of a local show crushing the network shows. Didn't even come close. Good Morning America, Today Show, they didn't come close to the numbers that they had at KTLA, and that actually birthed the show that I was on, which was the Fox answer to this morning show, and they crushed us when I was on it. So this is a guy who was an integral part of their history, and the way in which he was fired, it's not just that they were fired. Kriske was fired. Lou Parker was fired. Glenn Walker was fired. I don't have the list of people, but it was a lot. And the fact that they don't give these people a decent send-off, it adds insult to injury. It really does. I mean, you know, I understand why they are paring down these stations. These are Nexstar stations, and this gets us into a story that we were going to do anyway, which is about Paramount and about Warner Brothers and Netflix and acquisitions in America right now from broadcast entities. But what this is the unbridled acquisition of television stations and broadcast entities. It happens on radio also, where they acquire. It happened to KGO Radio in San Francisco. They were part of a huge acquisition of all of these radio stations. And what happens to these media companies is they're choking on debt. They've acquired too much. And these broadcast facilities are not worth what they used to be. Why? Because the audience has been attenuated across all of these different platforms, like this one, YouTube, or Spotify, or whatever. And because of that, you don't have the audience, and you're not going to get the audience that made it a worthwhile purchase to begin with. Now, many of you said, along the way, I'm sure, couldn't you see this coming? Yeah, you could. But in the acquisition frenzied times that we live in, it's sort of, let's grab this, let's strip it down, let's get rid of the expensive talent, and then let's flip it, sell it, let it operate on kind of impulse power, and we'll just have that revenue. This is way more than Mark Kriske, you understand, way more than KTLA. This is what's happening in America right now. And so this huge company called Nexstar bought all these stations. They've got them in New York, and in New York they did the same thing. They laid off all these guys. They laid off the people who were 6 and 10 o'clock anchors. They laid off the morning show people. This is what they do. They want to get out from under the big contracts. So now you'll have these stations on the air, and there'll still be people there. There'll be reporters. There'll be other anchors who are working for a fraction of what these guys were working for. And they'll also have a fraction of the connection with the audience, because the audience doesn't know who these people are. They're replacements. And, of course, their replacements will make so much less money, and the station will generate much less money simply because, again, two things. Over time, those ratings would drop because you've eliminated key personalities. But also, I'd suggest, because of the first thing I said, which is the audience is going away anyway. So your audience is bleeding off. Doesn't matter whether you keep Mark Kriske or not. The audience is going away. But by getting rid of Mark Kriske, you've hastened your own demise. Now, they would say, he's a line item, man. He makes $700,000 a year, whatever it is. We're done with it. We're not doing those salaries anymore. And so that's what's happening in Los Angeles, in New York, in Chicago, in San Francisco. Wherever you're watching us, in Dallas and Miami, it's happening everywhere. So these broadcast huge media companies have choked down too much, and now they're having to divest. And some of that divestiture is with talent. And you're seeing newsrooms pare down. You're seeing the tech side pare down. A real loss. Such a great talent, Mark Kriske, such a great show that is still on KTLA. And I'm sure on some level they'll continue. But the magic that they had, they couldn't even dignify with a decent farewell. That's pretty gross to me. Let the guy say goodbye to his audience. So that's my thought on Mark Kriske and what's happening at KTLA. Super sticker from, is it Gene?
Gene D.
Gene D. What up, Gene D?
Big shout out.
Big shout out to you. Thank you for a super sticker. $5 super sticker. I love it. Richard Delamater says, Remarkables, sorry, I don't want to type out individual names when I say good morning in the chat. If we chat, then know that morning is for you. All right. Thank you, Richard.
Big shout
$5
out.
super chat. Richard was suggesting that everybody on our Facebook page put up a picture of themselves, which I guess you can do on Facebook, right?
Yeah, it looks like they did it on the Mark Thompson Show fan discussion page, because I don't
see.
know, you can't post make a normal post on the Mark Thompson Show page.
I see.
You can comment, but you can't like make an actual post. So they took the picture sharing to the fan discussion page.
I see. Now you can tell already that Kim is our Facebook whisperer. You know, she understands Facebook. Like I don't really understand it. So yeah, we turn to her and she's explaining now things that I didn't know. Like I don't understand why they can't post pictures of themselves, but you're saying because they don't, it's not their page, they can't. Can't they put it on the timeline or whatever that is? No?
No, I can't.
Okay, all right.
This is so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's my fault. It's my fault. Why is the populace so dumb, says Spencer Jaffe. Yeah, well...
There's always been, in this country, 30 to 35% idiots.
Ain't it true? God bless our Jim Avila, wherever you are looking down. Vilma Devlin, OG of the show, with a $5 super chat, says this administration is flooding the zone on many fronts. All the while, they're pushing for this executive order to suppress the vote. Couldn't agree more. Although the suppress the vote executive order is now out there in some reporting. But I do agree with you, Vilma. They are busy with a lot of different stuff.
Big shout out.
Mark, Bill Clinton flyover, says Chaplain. Oh, I said, yeah, it's a bill. They flew over the White House. And those who they might want to talk to about Jeffrey Epstein there. Did you mean his fly is over? Okay. I'm confused. I get it. Chaplain Fred says, Mark and his wife, Jennifer, are so talented. A shame. Yeah, he's married to Jennifer Gould. He's talking about Mark Kriske, of course. Thank you for that. It's cool that people know these people are very, very talented. And who was that, Albert, that you put
That's
up there?
That's Dan.
Oh.
Dan Martin from the
Dan Martin
picture of the Facebook page. Yeah.
All right.
He's
That's the first
at Levi's Stadium.
picture of
Yeah,
the,
there you go.
Very, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's our Dan. Is it the same Dan? I just popped 3 Zellmans. They were
Oh.
great. All right. He loves the Zellmans. Yeah. I'm into them.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, there's never been anything like Zellmans. Mark, can I purchase cassette recordings of the show on your Facebook page? I get it, Luis. I get it. Everybody's got a Facebook page, and I get it. We don't have a rich history on Facebook. We're new. Again, I wanted to make sure that it caught on before I gave it the green light. Yeah, I didn't want to jump in too quick. So, all right. I got a lot to talk to Mo Kelly and Michael Shure about. That was me when I was doing Good Day LA. Oh my God.
I wish
Look
we
at
had
that.
video. Can we have video of the dancing?
Yeah, I did. I don't think I danced on Good Day LA though. I danced on.
I think, yeah, I was told by our guru. We have a guru here now on the show. Loves our guru. The local TV shows don't really like us using their content.
Yeah, Kim just wants to get us into trouble and
I
then
do.
blame me about it.
I blame you.
Yeah, right. That's right. I am ready to go with Mo, though, and I'm
The Mark Thompson Show.
Smash that like button if you would. It's a real way you can show the love. Thank you, Hilo Karen. Says, Mark, you haven't aged. I'm aging horribly on the inside. I will tell you that I look forward to this every week. This guy, clear takes and fresh takes on so much going on, and we have a lot to get to. How about it for Mr. Mo Kelly?
Good afternoon, Mark.
It is a pleasure to see you. We may be joined by Michael Shure. He is the Mariah Carey of our show. So sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't, sometimes he's late.
This is so
sometimes he tells
ridiculous.
us. Yes, we just we I don't know what to say to him, but you just have to put up with it. I can't reduce his pay because he shows up for nothing, just the way you do. You're so good to donate a few minutes to us every week, so thank you. Yeah, Mo. All right. I'll share all the love for you at the end. Let me get into some of what's happening. There is a huge acquisition of media that's going on, and I want to start there. Then I will get to Jeffrey Epstein. Then I will get to some of the other things, the situation in Buffalo, New York, involving that virtually blind immigrant who was picked up by ICE and then dropped off in the cold and died. So these are all on the docket. I want to start with media and the media acquisition. And Albert, do you have the story on this? It just broke yesterday, and it's huge. Go ahead.
Moments ago, Netflix said it is declining to raise its offer for the purchase of Warner Brothers Studios and HBO, following the Warner Brothers Discovery Board's determination that Paramount, which is not just going for Warner Brothers Studios and HBO, but also the whole enchilada, including us here at CNN, Paramount has submitted a superior offer, according to Warner Brothers Discovery's board. As I've noted, Warner Brothers Discovery is the parent company of CNN. So let's get right to CNN Chief Media Analyst Brian Stelter. So let's start with the question, why did Netflix walk away? Ted Sarandos and others at Netflix made it very clear. They really wanted Warner Brothers Studios and they really wanted HBO.
Right. In this corporate tug of war, it seems Netflix has suddenly let go of the rope. There's a lot, of course, that could still happen here. But the big news this afternoon is that Paramount suddenly is in a much stronger position to take over CNN and the rest of the Warner Bros. Discovery company, which includes HBO and the Warner Bros. Movie Studio and all those other assets. Paramount is the company that essentially put this into play last summer. New CEO David Ellison, shortly after taking over Paramount, CBS, that part of the media world, then set his sights on WBD. And WBD CEO David Zaslav started a bidding war as a result. He sided with Netflix. The WBD board sided with Netflix for a deal that had been struck back in December, but Paramount had then launched a hostile takeover bid. And in recent days, Paramount had negotiations with WBD and raised the offer to $31 per share with a bunch of sweeteners that made the deal more appealing, more palatable to WBD. So in the last few...
Now, that's it, the X's and O's, and also the news as it broke. Why is this important? Because it is increasingly media in the hands of very few people in America. I wonder if you could speak to this and the propaganda machine that may become supercharged as a result of this, Mo.
There are two aspects to it. There are two sides to this. Never before have we had politics so ingrained in our media, and we have these interested parties, media parties, who are working with this Trump administration to curry favor. That's one aspect of it. And also you have the Trump administration specifically leaning on these media entities to do their bidding. Not only that, they're using these mergers as leverage to force these companies to do or not do. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I can't help but think that the president's more recent remarks about former NSA advisor Susan Rice having to be fired from Netflix playing some role in this, in which we know that these mergers are not going to happen without the blessing of the Trump administration and by extension, the FCC. And then I don't know where the Sherman Antitrust Act falls in all of this, but yes, we have fewer and fewer people who are owning these companies, but their agenda, their political agenda is becoming more and more explicit.
Yeah, the monopolization of media seems clear. I mean, it is, even if you just look at the WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram control that Zuckerberg has under Meta. You don't even have to get to these sort of legacy broadcast entities. And here there's a movie studio and then control of CNN and other streamers. Michael, it is, as I think Mo correctly points out, another way in which the administration can exert power. You have to unmute, sir. No, there you go.
There we go. Sorry, guys. There's a dog barking. I didn't want it to bark over Mo. The truth is that there's a uniqueness to this situation too, which is that there's never been any kind of sort of FCC hardball being played like there is from this president. And at his most basic. He is somebody who is childish in terms of being vindictive and getting retribution. So I think that this can be boiled down not to the dollars and cents, and not to Trump liking Ellison more than he likes Sarandos, et cetera, which I think he does, at least the father. But I think this is because he doesn't like CNN, and he doesn't want CNN spun off without his fingerprint on that. And so unlike any other analysis of any other business deal, none of which I'm great at doing, this one seems to be able to be boiled down to Donald Trump saying, I don't like CNN. We're going to change CNN. This is my way of doing it. And this is the one that he gives his blessing to. This is the deal. The other side of it, as Sarando said, it's a little too expensive.
And there is Trump and the FCC commissioner, who has been exerting, it would seem, on Trump's behalf, a lot of leverage on these media companies. And so, the extension of what you've just said is that there really won't be, in a legacy media type way, many places where you're not going to be getting some news that would seem informed by coziness with the administration. Right, Mo?
Yeah, there's an explicit aspect of this where you have Brendan Carr, FCC, shown in that photo, specifically saying that, hey, they're going to enforce the equal time rule, including on late night talk shows, which historically has not been the case, as has been outside the boundary of the equal time rule. That's the explicit part. And the implicit part, where we just have to imagine and assume that whatever is coming out on Paramount properties, which will be inclusive of CNN in the future, is somehow been greenlit by the administration or approved by the administration, where although they may not be explicit as far as saying you can't do this, you have to wonder, like 60 Minutes, where there is some sort of undercurrent where that they are not going as hard against the administration because the threat of possibly coming down on them.
But, this does mean, guys, that we could see a sequel to Melania, which would be a great thing. Yeah, it would be produced by the Warner Brothers people now. So you never know. Hope
What's
springs
great
eternal.
is that it can move right to Turner Classic Films. Right?
That's right. I forgot. All right, I want to get to the brewing conversation that appears to be going on in the White House around an executive order that would create under the guise of involvement in the 2020 election by the Chinese, the need on the part of the White House and President Trump to declare a national emergency and outlaw or invalidate or prevent mail-in voting. Here's what's happening on the brewing executive order at the White House.
George, well, we know that the president is considering mandating stricter voting rules ahead of the midterms, and now we have learned that the president has reviewed this draft executive order, which would declare a national emergency, then giving him sweeping power over voting. Sources say a group of pro-Trump attorneys are urging the president to sign this 17-page draft order, which claims without evidence that China interfered in the 2020 election, arguing that that then justifies declaring a national emergency that would then allow the president to mandate voter ID, hand-counted ballots, and ban mail-in ballots. Now, it's not clear if the president is actually going to act on this proposal, but he has reviewed it, and we do know that he is considering taking executive action, posting recently, quote, there will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not. But again, George, the Constitution gives states, not the president or the federal government, the power to run elections.
Right, Marion, another part of this campaign.
Well, the Constitution is such a quaint reference these days. What is the viability of this? How do you handicap this, Michael Shure?
I don't think it's going to happen. It's the Washington Post reported it. The White House and Trump have denied it. That Trump seemed sort of dumbfounded by the idea, which he also said about Project 2025.
Thank you. I was just about to make that point.
Yeah. So I'm not certain that matters so much. I don't think this is an avenue down which he wants to go, because, in 2026, a lot of Republicans who have traditionally loved mail-in ballots, who need mail-in ballots to win, are on the ballot, right? I mean, it's you have 535 elections, and those people rely on mail-in ballots. There's no science that says that if you don't have them, Republicans are going to win. And I think the White House is going to is probably going to lean in that direction. Though it's a continuation of his narrative of I lost in 2020. So any vehicle that allows him to talk about that is to Washington Post reporters. I'm not refuting the reporting, but the president has refuted that the White House is going to do this, or he's inclined to do it.
Mo, your thoughts on this?
I absolutely believe that he's going to go through with this. Not that Michael Shure is wrong, not that it would not be a disaster for the individual Republicans. I just believe that this president doesn't give a damn about anyone but himself, and this serves his personal interests, his narrative. Now, if the past is prologue, we should know that he has been moving in this direction for quite some time. He has declared a national emergency for the National Guard. That is a tool that he's employed before, and I suppose that he will employ it again in regard to elections. Be damned the Constitution. Now, what we learned before the last time he tried to declare an emergency is that our courts may have held, but they responded very slowly. This is a tool which he would not use right now, I don't believe. He probably would use it closer to the election, counting on the fact that our courts are so very slow as far as moving it up the chain to possibly the Supreme Court, where he would be able to get his way in the short term, declaring the emergency and causing complete chaos in our electoral politics moving into the midterms. Chaos has always been his currency, so I expect him to spend it here just as well.
I sign on to that. I think he's looking down the barrel of a loss on the GOP side. That means there'd be impeachment proceedings, potentially, certainly investigations on the House side. You know, Michael, he's really shown in the past that, you know, he doesn't flinch from this kind of thing. You know,
he has, but I don't think what the reason I differ with you guys, I don't think there's any empirical evidence that not having, I think that it's very easy for Republicans to make a convincing argument that not having mail-in ballots is going to hurt them in states like Florida and states like Texas, where they have these new ballot initiatives, and state like these new congressional districts, states like Arizona. I think that they are going to, the Republican Party is going to say to the president, look, we have an uphill battle. This may make it more uphill. And so while Mo's right, obviously he always has his self-interest. He does not, on the day that we're sitting here and Bill Clinton is in Chappaqua doing a deposition the day after his wife did, he does not want that to be a part of his, the second half of his second term. So I think he really wants to avoid a Republican loss. Obviously, I don't think this is how to do that necessarily.
I'm going to take your point on the mail-in voting, and I'll run this out for just a second. CC Ryder says, I haven't heard Democrats' message. This is all projection. Let's remind folks, Team Trump tried to steal the election with 84 total fake electors across 7 states who signed false electoral certificates. I'm glad that she mentions this. Thank you, CC Ryder, for that super chat, because the other thing I would say, Michael, is, of course, you're right. Mail-in voting can be very, very much a GOP thing in certain places. So somehow throwing it out doesn't help you. But creating the chaos does help you, because creating...
Yeah,
and I think
then there's judicial chaos, right? Then there's the courts, and then, like, as Mo was saying, I think you were saying it too. Then this thing is going to get challenged, and I think there's a real, because of what Mo said about this goes to the states, not the federal government, and whether an executive order could even apply to that would be brought into question. And I think I think that would delay this. Certainly they would, the courts may say, oh, we'll look at it in 2027, but it's too late to do it now.
You mentioned, yeah, go ahead, Mud. Sorry.
I could add just one thing. We're leaving out a big component of this, because the SAVE Act, which all this is around, is most likely not going to pass, because it's not going to get the 60 votes it needs in the Senate. And whereas I believe the SAVE Act was real, I believe his ambitions vis-a-vis this executive action is real. Does it make sense? No. Does it help him big picture? Probably not. But it's consistent with who he is, what he's done, and what he is likely to do, where if the status quo remains. In other words, that there's not a new Congress, which is electorally certified. Those elections are not certified. Then you decrease the chances, or at least you extend the amount of time in which a new Congress, a democratically controlled Congress, could take effect. And I think this is in concert with what he was trying to do with January 6th. In other words, if you just delay, deny, or somehow gunk up the works, then, we'll worry about tomorrow. But right now, we're not going to let them move forward.
Exactly. That's how I feel as well. But we'll talk about this more and see. I mean, a delay is his tactic. So now to Hillary Clinton, because you mentioned Clinton's closed-door testimony that occurred yesterday and Bill Clinton's today. You mentioned it, Michael Shure. Here's a little bit of one reporter's response to what was going on with Hillary Clinton anyway.
At the same time, I don't think I anticipated, Willie, that this hearing, when a source told me that they were talking about UFOs and Pizzagate, I actually had to double check, really? Is that actually how they're spending their time here? Because it felt so blatantly political. And I felt like the politics were very much on display yesterday with Secretary Clinton. I think the dynamics are very different today when you consider the fact that former President Clinton actually does have valid questions to answer. And my understanding of what was said in that deposition, and I do think we're going to get the transcript and the video, according to Comer, who has been releasing them within 24 hours of so of these depositions happening. My understanding is that even as Clinton went in the room and said, I never knew Jeffrey Epstein, I never went to the island, I never flew on the plane, her answer when she was asked about that by Republican members of the committee was, you have to ask my husband. And so now the committee will get that chance. And so the dynamics are quite different. And I think some of the things that he's going to be pressed on include how funding for the Clinton Global Initiative came to be. Hillary Clinton, of course, was a senator during that point. So again, walled off from what was happening there. And I think that that means the dynamics today are quite different. But I also think that the events of the last 2 days really do open the door for Democrats to cry more loudly about the need to call President Trump in front of the committee. Comer and Republicans keep pivoting to this idea that Trump answers questions about this regularly in the media, despite the fact that when he gets questions about this, he typically just lashes out at reporters for asking them and doesn't truly engage with the substance. And yet, I think there is this clamoring to get Trump. And I will also say, I asked Chairman Comer, in the spirit of nonpartisanship, as he keeps saying, do you want to talk to the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick? And he actually said to me yesterday, that's probably likely, which is a notable and different response than I've gotten in the past.
All right. So that is a snapshot. I mean, Hillary Clinton certainly has high ground in all of this. It's her husband who seemed hip deep. But when it does come to the money, things get a little stickier, Michael Shure.
Well, they do, but if the chronology that President Clinton says he, maintained is true, then there's nothing to worry about, right? And this is why, I think the politics here is more interesting than the money, just like Ali Vitale was saying. 9 Democrats voted on that committee, voted to have the Clintons subpoenaed. And they did that not because they wanted to, show bipartisan, they were really eager to hear what the Clintons had to say about Jeffrey Epstein. They were doing that to show that there's bipartisanship. And when we win the House, we're going to bring Donald Trump in here, and there's precedent for Democrats supporting it. So let's see if Republicans support bringing in Donald Trump. I can't pretend to know Bill Clinton's history with Jeffrey Epstein. The chronology, as it's been made public, does show that there was a huge gap between when Clinton last had contact with Epstein and then these allegations came out and the prosecution and the guilty plea and all of that. So, but again, they're learning more than I'll ever know today. And you're right about Hillary Clinton. I mean, she's Bill Clinton's husband. It seemed because they love bringing Hillary Clinton out. It seems that's why she's there.
They just want to make her life uncomfortable, and they want to throw as much of this Epstein stink onto the Clintons and onto their political adversaries.
What's interesting, just one more thing, is there people like Maxwell Frost is a Democrat from Florida. He actually was one of those who voted to have the subpoena. He was like in grade school or kindergarten or 5th grade or something when Clinton was president. So there's now a generation of of Democrats that are serving in Congress and looking at this stuff who don't have the same kind of adherence to the Clintons that other Democrats have had over the years.
That's a wild footnote to it. That really is. Mo, your thoughts on all of this? I mean, might they on some level bring in a Lutnick, and might the pendulum swing over that way?
I'd be very surprised if they brought in Lutnick. It's an easy answer to a question. It's like, are you going to, in the spirit of bipartisanship, do the right thing? Yes, of course we are. It doesn't mean they're actually going to do it. And so I'm going to reserve judgment until it actually happens. We know that anything regarding Hillary Clinton at this point, she last ran for president 10 years ago. She was a senator long before that, and she has no contemporary relevance, and especially no connection to Jeffrey Epstein. But I would agree that if you come in now, it sets precedent as far as what you may do if you get past the midterms and you regain power of the House, because we all know, I would love to see Melania Trump answer the question. So when did you meet Jeffrey Epstein? How did you meet Jeffrey Epstein? When were you introduced to Donald Trump? Why was Jeffrey Epstein at Donald Trump's wedding in 1993? These are all legitimate questions. And if you have partied with Jeffrey Epstein, flown with Jeffrey Epstein, hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, done financial dealings with Jeffrey Epstein, then I think it's relevant for you to come before Congress and testify under oath. Most people don't lie. Most people don't understand. You can lie to the media. I can say whatever I want right now, and I can say that I have $10 million in my bank account. But if I am under oath, there are consequences, hopefully attached, where if I were to lie to the FBI or lie to Congress, I can be held in criminal contempt. So all the questions about, Donald Trump has been asked about this. No, he has not been engaged on the substance, and he's never been under oath and answered these questions. And I suspect that if he were under oath, he would plead the fifth or lie. Either way, that would be good for Democrats.
The deletion.
I'll add that there's also something far less sexy about a commerce secretary than there is about a U.S. president. And no matter how you slice it, a former big personality like Bill Clinton and a commerce secretary like Howard Lutnick. The Democrats are not as interested in Howard Lutnick as they are the big prize, and that happens if they win the House.
I noted this week the Washington Post story about the deletions around the FBI conversations with one of the girls who was alleging that she had an encounter with the president that involved a sexual assault, and even an assault after the sexual assault. It was a pretty gross interaction. Anyway, there were 4 FBI meetings or interviews with this alleged victim. 3 of them didn't show up in the Epstein files released, just deleted, not even redacted. And some good reporting and sort of cross-referencing made it clear that they were taken out, just went missing. Here's my question. Does that kind of detail make it through to the MAGAverse that wanted them released, to the general populace that wanted them released? It seemed to be sort of a bipartisan call to have them released. Or is that the kind of detail around which there isn't a lot of interest because people are just sort of clamoring, as you suggest, for the big game, Trump, Clinton, et cetera, to be called in? What do you think, Mo?
You and I and Michael and probably most of the people in the chat follow these issues much more closely than the MAGAverse. And we are a little bit more open to the idea of the substance which may come out of the Epstein files. I do not believe that MAGA is in any way interested in the actual facts or truth surrounding Donald Trump. They're not interested in any type of deposition or any memoranda connected to an interview by a credible witness. And what I mean by a credible witness is if the FBI interviews you 4 times, you've been deemed credible. In other words, there's something there for them to follow up on and something that they have been investigating for quite some time. MAGA's not interested in that, because to be MAGA, and I want to be very dismissive right now and insulting, means that you have sold your soul, basically. You are invested personally in Donald Trump. defending Donald Trump is defending yourself. So you're not going to allow into your stream of consciousness the idea or possibility that the man that you have bought flags for and, and lawn signs and T-shirts could actually be the person connected to QAnon from the very beginning, that he is the pedophile head that you were always worried about for the past 10 years. He is the embodiment of Pizzagate. They're not going to allow that to happen emotionally, politically, or even morally. So I don't believe that there's any degree of facts that are going to come out that are going to change their mind. Even if he were to admit it, they would say, well, there would be some sort of justification. So to answer your question, that's a long way of saying, no, I don't think anything penetrates MAGAverse, but it could penetrate independents and some Republican senators who would then deem the president as too toxic to move forward with him.
That's interesting. Is there any kind of political water that Trump is taking on from all of this, Michael Shure?
I mean, in general, I think he's taking, Trump's political water happens when the last part of what Mo said happens, which is when some of these Republicans start going the other way. It's going to happen as a natural course of political ambition, where you have to sort of carve your own path and stand out from the pack. That is going to happen in dribbles and drabs as very ambitious people want to become president, and they're running from the party that has an unpopular president. It's going to happen naturally. But with this thing, running from Trump on Epstein is an easy pass that you can get. The other part of it is that I don't know that MAGA as a monolith matters anymore going into 26 and 28, because they are only, in my estimation, as strong as their figurehead, and that's Trump, and he's immensely strong in terms of keeping them together. When he's not on the ballot, he's proven that they don't stay together, and when he's in the past tense as a political figure, then it's going to be even more difficult to keep them. So I do think this is about protecting the president protecting himself, and then seeing what happens after, if in fact the Democrats take either house of Congress, what happens to this story. But going back to the crux of what you were asking about, Mark, these missing depositions are huge and would consistently fit in with the outrage that MAGA has about government cover-ups and conspiracies that they all bathe in. Well, this would be one of those, and they don't seem to be chomping right now, but it doesn't matter. Their guy's already there.
I only have a couple of minutes, so quickly, I want to go to this Buffalo story. It's yet another story of these Border Patrol people doing something that is unconscionable, dropping somebody off in, the dead of night in winter, and he's blind, as not such incidental detail. And also, and this is not, I think, without tremendous relevance, completely paving over the actual facts to present a narrative by which they dropped him off in this warm, safe place, not admitting what is now very much in evidence, which is that, as I say, he was dropped off in the dead of night. Go ahead, Albert, run a little bit of this so you'll give us a sense of what happened. And then I want to ask you what may be the ripple effect of this, if any. Go ahead.
There is growing outrage today over the death of a nearly blind father who was dropped off by Border Patrol agents miles away from home and in the cold. Miral Amin Shah Alam was a Burmese refugee. His attorney says he was not only nearly blind, but spoke virtually no English. He had been reported missing by his family and then found dead a few miles away from where he'd been released after a 5-day search. His family says no one ever notified them that he'd been dropped off. I want to bring in the reporter who broke that story, J. Dale Shoemaker of the Investigative Post. Also with us, Eddie Glaude, Princeton University professor and an MS Now political analyst. Dale, I understand the funeral is scheduled for, I guess, less than an hour from now. What can you tell us about the circumstances leading up to his death?
Yeah, so a year ago in February, Mr. Shah Alam was out for a walk in his neighborhood. Now, you mentioned that he is nearly blind, and so he was in need of a walking stick. His attorney told me that he was able to make his way down the street to a shop where he purchased a curtain rod. The weather then, this is February in Buffalo in 2025, the weather then turned bad and he got lost in the neighborhood. He ends up wandering into the backyard of a stranger, of a woman's house. Her Our dog is let loose. He's found in the backyard. I actually, just before I got on this program here, I was watching the police body camera footage from that incident. That shows the officers arriving to the scene, having a confrontation with him, tasering him, beating him, and eventually arresting him. Now, he is taken to the Erie County Holding Center, our local jail, and he is then held there for a year. His attorney told me that he advised the family that bailing him out immediately was not necessarily advisable because ICE had lodged an immigration detainer against him. Had they bailed him out last year, ICE might have taken custody of him on the assault charges that were filed. He got into a struggle with the officers who suffered minor injuries. That could have resulted in him being detained out of state or possibly even deported. So they left him in the holding center where his family could visit him at least. And eventually, earlier this year, the district attorney agreed to plea down the charges. Mr. Shah Alam eventually pled guilty to 1 count of trespassing and 1 count of misdemeanor possession of his curtain rod that he had in his hand. At that point, the sheriff's office calls Border Patrol agents. This is the part that is confusing. People aren't sure why they called Border Patrol, if it was that agency that had the detainer or if it was ICE. Our information leads us to believe that it was ICE who had the detainer, but in any event, the sheriff's office called Border Patrol. Border Patrol picks him up, realizes that ICE is not going to take custody of him, and in a statement, they said that they decided to give him a quote-unquote courtesy ride. That courtesy ride ended at a Tim Hortons in the Riverside Black Rock neighborhood of Buffalo. He was dropped off there shortly after 8 p.m. Last Thursday, and he was left to wander. The attorneys who I've spoken to who represented the man, they say that they were not notified, and then neither was the family. He then wandered the city for several days, and he was found dead downtown near the Buffalo Sabres hockey arena Wednesday evening.
Okay, so that is a complete detailed report. Now, 2 things. First of all, it strikes me that the Border Patrol guys are another level of cruel. It would seem in general, the executions that we saw in Minneapolis, those are from Border Patrol people. I mean, and this is weird to say because ICE is incredibly thuggish, but these guys are killing people, it seems, in ways that have become more inventive all the time. The agents left him, 56-year-old guy who didn't speak English, at this coffee shop. It was 5 miles from his home, and it was closed. And they reported that they determined this to be a warm, safe location near his last known address. And again, this seems to me another case of the Border Patrol killing yet another person. This is the surveillance video. I mentioned it to you guys with this long ramp up to ask you if any of these incidents, as they did in Minnesota, are causing and you'll pardon the expression in this case, sort of a chilling effect in terms of the way things are being handled and the way in which the immigration enforcement situation is being refigured. I ask you, Mo.
I don't believe that the 2 murders, my word, in Minnesota had a chilling effect. I don't believe that changed anything. I believe that...
Well, they pulled out of Minnesota, didn't they?
They pulled out Minnesota, but the point I was going to make is I thought it had more to do with the funding that they were asking for and not getting in the way of losing their own funding for ICE. And the Democrats had some leverage there. But I don't believe that they were actually concerned with the loss of human life. I don't believe that this is going to fundamentally change their policies and tactics and practices in the way that they didn't care what happened to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, deporting him to a 3rd country and a CCOT in a prison. They didn't care about that. They still don't care about him. They haven't really shown any contrition regarding the murders or homicides of 2 American citizens. They have not actually shown that they are conscientious about rights abuses. This is just the latest example. And let's not forget, if you are in custody, there is a record of like someone to call in case of an emergency. They could have called someone. Instead, he's obviously disabled on some level, and they dropped him in the middle of basically nowhere because of a last known address. Well, there were people that they were in contact with that could have delivered him to and chose not to. That's a conscious decision. That says to me that there's a reckless disregard for life and safety. Now, this is just what we know about. How many other people do we not know about that we may not find out about until they end up dead?
Yeah, this isn't a crew that's big on contrition. When Mo said contrition, I thought, yeah, this is you don't get contrition from this crowd. Michael, is there any rethinking of policy or a way in which to more sort of quietly pursue their policy? It's really noisy, cruel, and brutal, and it's killing people. One more time to unmute, please.
Again, doing that for Mo's benefit and forgetting to my detriment. Its policy isn't as big of a factor right now as politics, and the only way to change the policy is with politics. And these things do have a cumulative effect, I believe, and they have shown to have that already. Immigration as an issue is no longer owned by the Republicans in the way that it was. And when you look at, just take a look at this, right? You're in Buffalo, New York, Western New York. You've got, I think it's the 24th district. Claudia Tenney is a Republican member of Congress up there, not right in that Buffalo area, because Tim Kennedy, that's his district, and that's a real Democratic district. But when you start having this narrative come into your backyard, Republicans are forced to respond. And in an election and in a state as blue as New York is, when Republicans are always running uphill, it does matter. And that's how you change policy. So I know I'm a little bit of a broken record on going back to what happens in November, but there aren't going to be sea changes in policy until there are sea changes in Congress. And these are the sorts of things that contribute to that. And I think it's important, and it's also tragic and sad.
I particularly like the last thing you said, which is that these sorts of things contribute to that because, again, I mentioned this at the very beginning with these brutal, thuggish policies of ICE when they're chasing down some landscaper, they're showing up at a court-mandated hearing and then dragging people to the ground and zip tying them in this brutal way. It just was so gratuitous and awful. Those images reminded me, and the way in which they got into the zeitgeist, reminded me of Vietnam and the way the horror of war came home to everyone in a way it hadn't prior.
100%, Mark. Yeah, 100%. And it's sort of like thinking about the Holocaust, but knowing Anne Frank's story. When you know one story is happening, when you know that there's segregation in the South and there's a civil rights movement, they're marching all over the place. But when you see dogs in a park chasing kids, these sorts of things matter, and that's how change happens. And so in American history, that's kind of what does change these things when they rear their head, and you have to be hopeful to that degree.
So we're out of time. I really appreciate both of you guys coming here and giving me a little bit of your wisdom. What's that?
How dare you? How dare you have on Michael Shure and me, and we talk politics, and you don't even mention the U.S. men's hockey team?
This is
you're
so ridiculous.
Absolutely right. Oh my God,
It was wrong. It was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Yeah, I am. Geez, I completely. Wow, Mo's right. And I have a story on that story.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done?
I would like to apologize.
Hey, you know what? I recorded it and I haven't watched it yet. So.
So the men's hockey team went to the White House, of course, after their big victory, and the women's hockey team also having won gold. And the president, there's so many stories here. We did the story about Patel on the, company dime, which is your dime and my dime, flying there to party. And then the president calling. And when the president calls, he kind of says, hey, you guys are going to come to the White House. We got to invite those women too. Sorry. And he got the reaction. So now it comes, and you can, when I shut up, I want to hear, I know you guys are the real hockey fans, but let me just give you the controversy. So Charlie McAvoy, who's Team USA's, was he the defenseman, I think, for the team. He apologized, plays for the Boston Bruins, for how the U.S. men's hockey team responded to this comment during the call and during comments with President Trump. In a video taken after the men's gold medal win over Canada, Mr. Trump tells the team they're invited to Washington, D.C., and we have to, this is a quote, I must tell you, we're going to have to bring the women's team. You do know that. And President Trump said that he would, quote, probably be impeached if he didn't invite the women. And many of the players appeared to laugh along with the president, drawing negative reaction from some on social media. And now McAvoy, with plenty of praise for the women's team and an apology if that was sort of misinterpreted. Now tell me about hockey, and I'll give you a couple. The women, I thought, were really gracious in all of this. They turned down the invitation to go to the White House, from what I was seeing.
Well, when we talk about hockey, I sort of perk up. But the outrage here shouldn't be that the players laughed. It should be that the president of the United States made that remark.
Yes.
People laugh when a president says stuff. Those of us who've been around.
It's a courtesy laugh. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
A courtesy laugh. And oh my God, it's the president and it's exciting and all of that. So people should be just really pissed that your president said that and thought it was funny. That's the person in the Oval Office, and that's disgusting. What the players did, I do know from listening to NHL radio as I do that the two teams, even going into the tournament, the men's and women's team knew they'd be in the village together. They're close. They follow each other. Some of the players have daughters that were with them that went to watch these games. I don't think it was at all about that. It was upsetting that Tage Thompson put on a MAGA hat. And then they say, stop politicizing it. It's different to put on a USA hat and be at the White House, which is totally appropriate and normal and exciting for a young athlete, than to put on a Make America Great Again and a Trump 47 hat. That is different. And they should have been a little wiser about that, but they're professional hockey players.
Well, I got a couple of words from Mo. Albert, can you scare up we had at the women's response just up to the invitation to go to the White House from the hockey team? Go ahead, Mo. What were your thoughts on? You can comment on any of this, including, I guess, what was really quite a run by the men too, men and women. Women were dominant in their win.
That's the only thing I really watched as part of the Winter Olympics to hockey. I love that. I'd never missed that. It was great drama and theater, how both teams managed to win in the medal round leading up to the gold medal round. It was great for national pride. That said, this is another example of how the people who are loudest about keep politics out of sports are bending over backwards to put politics in sports. And this is just the latest example where you use the men's national hockey team as a prop during the State of the Union, and then you want to use Kachuk and with an AI video insulting Canada. Yes, it was fake, but it's once again how it's convenient to use politics in sports when it suits you, as in the Trump administration. But outside of that, you tell athletes who may not be sympathetic to you to shut up and dribble.
Yeah, that's just brilliant. Here is what's her name, Kim?
Hillary Knight.
Hillary Knight. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead. Sorry. Kim, go ahead.
No, I just thought the joke was distasteful and unfortunate. And I think, just the way women are represented, it's a great teaching point to really shine light on how women should be championed for their amazing feats. And now I have to sort of and anybody has to sit in front of you and explain someone else's behavior. It's not my responsibility.
That's so smart.
But what is shifting the focus and shifting the narrative of this amazing accomplishment that we all did together. And granted, the men's and the women's team did it together, and that is super special. It's never been done in our program's history. It's something we're extremely proud about. But these women are amazing. No.
It really does feel like that's the best of America right there. She really was so, smart and thoughtful about the truth, which is, it's a shame that we have to even, be in this place. Why am I having to explain the actions of others?
Kudos to Jackson Lacombe of the Ducks and Jake Gensel of the Lightning. They didn't go to the White House. They said they just wanted to go home. So they didn't say that they weren't going for any political reason. They said they had a game they had to practice, but they all had games on Wednesday. So, that was another thing. And people before the tournament asked me who I was pulling for, and I was pulling for Canada. and not in sort of an anti-American thing. I think Connor McDavid's the best player in the world, and I love watching him play, and I want him to win something eventually. But someone said, why? And also, I don't want to see these guys go to the Trump White House. And I was right. This is exactly what I feared. I didn't think Kash Patel would be pouring beer over his head in the locker room, because that was just absurd.
Yeah, and somebody mentioned in the chat, it was stolen valor on the part of Patel and Trump. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's I called it reflected glory, stolen valor. You want reflected glory and stolen valor? You want to see that State of the Union? I mean, that was incredible. He set it up really as a monument to stolen valor. But that is part of the show when you're dealing with Trump. And yeah, Randy says how mature her response was. Contrast that with Trump's childish statements. Thank you. That's the word it didn't come to mind, and that's right, maturity. I mean, just the women's team just having once again to step up with the maturity that we don't see from the chief executive. All right, guys, so glad we could shoehorn some hockey in here at the end, even though it involved controversy, and I look forward to next week. Michael Shure, thank you. Mo Kelly, thank you. Until next time, see you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is the Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
I still have the Culture Blaster on deck. I've got Florida on deck, and I do want to mention our super terrific partners at Sweet 106 Bakery.
Bring me all the cupcakes.
All the deliciousness.
It's fantastic.
It really is. I loved every time I open it. It's a taste experience that I'm crazy for.
It was great. I loved it.
Layered cupcakes are where you can find me. You'll find me crawling into those canisters. They also have baking mixes and
after you try it, I discovered on the website you can subscribe so that every so often they'll just send you cupcakes. How great is that?
It's fantastic.
It is. Yeah. It's pretty terrific.
Good.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it.
It is something that you've got to jump on and try for yourself. Suite106bakery.com. Again, if you're just listening, Suite is spelled S-U-I-T-E, like a suite of rooms, because they started in Suite 106. And it is double vanilla is like another.
I have not tried that one yet, but I would really like to. I need to try the vanilla and the Dubai chocolate. I need to try that one. I haven't tried it yet.
The Dubai chocolate is, I'm getting more great reactions from so many. So definitely check that out.
And I've received a lot of positive letters.
That's something green going on. It's like a green chocolatey mix, but is it pistachios?
I don't know. I mean, if you click on it, Albert, do they describe what's in it or some?
It's pistachios.
Okay. The Dubai chocolate. Oh, there it is.
Welcome.
Yes. And they describe all the magic that you'll find inside. So don't be shy. Jump in with both feet. Suite106bakery.com. Use our discount code MARKT when you check out. Suite106bakery.com. S-U-I-T-E. Suite106bakery.com. Again, there's a link to suite106bakery.com under this video, and use our discount code at checkout, and you'll get 15% off. Suite106bakery.com.
Mark T.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I know you're saying we can't do it. How can you do it? How can you still do Florida and get the Culture Blaster in?
I don't know if we can.
Yes, we can.
Oh?
We have to. Don't we? What do you want to do?
I mean, we could skip Florida.
We could do our best story.
What?
Okay.
If we do Florida now, I can bring the Culture Blaster on, and he can do just one movie. I'm kidding.
Ouch.
What?
Oh.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Hey, look, it's not easy in this building.
And I
I say we could do the one.
The pictures I was supposed to see this week.
Yeah,
We can do that first one, I think, Mark. Up to you. That first one.
All right. I like the mayhem in Florida this week.
There's a mutiny in the chat. You better not mess with my Friday Fabulous Florida.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, our core people want it. I didn't mention it. Kim wanted to drop it.
Okay, my bad.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I mean, geez.
I'd like to apologize to the Mark Thompson community.
Thank you. Yeah.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
A Florida man destroys a Chinese restaurant with a shovel.
What?
He claimed to be a prophet. I mean, to be fair, that's the way I've read the prophets are coming back with those shovels. You know what I mean?
What?
I think this is a story worth learning more about.
I
A
wanted to
man.
apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Oh, of course. It is a Chinese restaurant. Yeah, the Asian community is deserving of an apology. He was accused of attacking a local restaurant owner and damaging a kitchen. He says he was trying to stop a new strain of COVID-19.
With a
Richard
shovel?
Jarvis entered Pearl's Chinese restaurant and began destroying the kitchen with a shovel.
Oh, no.
Caused thousands of dollars in damage.
Iron rod.
Oh. The apparent fact is that the owner was struck during this attack. The guy had like a shovel, said a witness, and he was swinging it and hitting people. According to the arrest report, Jarvis said to deputies, quote, "I had to destroy that restaurant. All Chinese restaurants are going to release a new strain of COVID on July 6th. I am a prophet. I'm trying to save everyone."
Good day, sir.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to guess racist on meth. Is that what we have here?
Well,
This is a man with anger. This is a man that has resentment towards you.
in the aftermath, nearby businesses are increasing security precautions. Seems like a good idea.
Mm.
Customers are saying that they're focusing on the owner's recovery and now not so much concerned with the perpetrator of things. He seems to be, as prophets are, on to the next thing. A missing Florida man is found. That's the good news. The bad news is he's buried up to his neck in mud. It's like quicksand. It's a real thing. He is rescued, everybody. That's right. Central Florida is where he was found, buried alive in mud.
Oh.
Deputies saying that they found his abandoned vehicle on a property belonging to Vulcan Materials Company. A deputy had a previous encounter with the man trespassing on the same company property at a different site. So they recognized this guy's vehicle at the site, and it was a good thing they did, because this guy was in this mud pit, and they searched this expansive area, and they found him there, buried up to his neck. Albert, it was not easy to get him out, was it? Because there was instability of the ground around him. The responders just couldn't walk up to the edge, and because they themselves were threatened. So look at all the people involved in trying to get him out. They freed him, and he was flown by air ambulance to a trauma center. He was in critical condition.
Oh, no.
But
I mean, I think the last reported that anybody talked to the man was on Valentine's Day, which is quite a long time ago.
And he was missing for a long time. Wow.
Well, it sounds like when he was up to his neck, they got to him just in time.
That's right. That's right. This one had a Hollywood ending.
Morning.
I don't know if that was necessary, Albert. Florida woman is arrested after calling 911. Oh, this will warm your heart. To report that her son was threatening to kill her, and of course that in itself would just fall into another Florida day, but he was threatening to kill her with, anybody? The magical weapon of Florida would be machete, to be fair.
Machete,
this is
machete.
a sword. This is a sword.
Oh.
Sword or machete is
Okay.
in the same family. This guy was arrested after the mother called 911 for help. Her son was threatening to kill her and other people with a sword. The sheriff's office saying that Javon Green, 31, had been drinking alcohol and was damaging property. The mom saying that her son was swinging a katana-style sword and was threatening to not only kill her, but other people as well. He was taken into custody in the backyard of the home and told deputies that the incident began after an argument with his mother. What a surprise that is. No, really? There was an argument involved? Oh. The mother was also arrested. You're probably saying, why would you arrest the mother? She seems like the innocent victim.
What's got going here is a situation.
It is a situation because she was taken into custody on several, anybody? Warrants for trafficking cocaine.
Oh.
Yes. Also trafficking fentanyl. Yes. Also trafficking a hydrocodone.
This is so ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a hunch they're not going to Mother's Day brunch this year.
This is going to be a rough year for Mother's Day. Hate to pick a favorite, must pick a favorite. Got the Culture Blaster waiting. Again, guy going after the Chinese restaurant with a shovel, claiming to be the prophet and ending the new COVID strain. The missing Florida man buried up to his neck in mud. It was like quicksand. And Florida's trafficking of cocaine, fentanyl, and hydrocodone mom calling 911 to report her son was going after her with a sword. We need a favor. We ask you, Kim.
I'm going with the mother-son meltdown.
Mother-son meltdown. Who's ahead in the chat?
It's a little bit of a push. Equal votes for all around. I see. I have a couple funny ones. The COVID shovel guy, Swampy Sand.
Sure.
I do like I do like the guy with the sword because I like it. It started as a sword story, ended as a drug story. That's the classic.
Mobius says,
Florida
I cannot
progression.
choose.
Yes, it's true. It did start one way and end another way. That's Friday, Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday, Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
It's our Friday finish. We will wrap up with the Culture Blaster. Before I get right to him, I want to mention again our Facebook page. We wanted it to be the last show on Facebook, and we think we are, and we couldn't be more excited about it. So help plant the flag with us as the last show on Facebook. You can find a link to the Facebook page. It'll take you right to the Facebook page, right under this video. So speaking of links, there are Patreon and PayPal links if you want to support this show. And there are links to everyone who we have on the show. So that is to say, authors and all the brilliant people who came through today's show, Andrew Fraknoi, et cetera. It's all there under the video. Now, again, now that you've joined our Facebook page, we can reach you that way. It'll be a place where you'll see some postings and we'll do some fun things, we think. We've got big plans. Now that we're the last show on Facebook, we really feel as though we can spread our wings. So I hope you will join us. Now, we get to movies and streaming for the weekend with the Culture Blaster. He has never met a film, a stream, a rock show, a jazz show, an R&B show, a hip-hop show that he hasn't been grooving to. That's why he calls himself the Culture Blaster. He comes and goes on a rainbow. He's the brilliant Michael Snyder, everybody. How about it, Michael? Hello.
Hey, love the dithering and the dwaddling. Well done, Mark. Let's get down to business here. I do want to say it's been uncommon fun back here in San Francisco this past week. I saw the shorthanded Warriors beat Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets on Sunday at Chase Center, thanks to my pal, showbiz lawyer Barry Simons. What a game that was. You know, we're down 4 All-Stars and still won. I caught a positively uplifting birthday tribute to George Harrison at the chapel on Wednesday night with various local luminaries of rock, including the venerable Flamin' Groovy's leader and guitarist Cyril Jordan, the powerhouse singer Shannon Shaw of Shannon and the Clams, and this up-and-coming vocalist and songwriter May Powell. And they did all these classic and beloved Harris songs. You don't even realize the beauty and the massive nature of his songbook. And then last night, my friend and writing partner Alan and I hit a terrific dumpling restaurant, and Standard Deviant Brewing, which Mark was hosting a big event for the elder dog rescue group Muttville. I think you would have heartily.
Yeah, well, I know Muttville. I know the work they do. Absolutely, yeah.
And then we saw LA Party Band Supreme, like me, up from LA. Tom Kenny, our pal Tom Kenny, in the high seas, tearing the roof off the Kilowatt as part of the annual Noise Pop Festival. Anyway, one more quick note about music before we get on to the movies and such. I'm really excited by the reopening of the Mabuhay Gardens, aka the Fab Mab, the legendary punk rock venue on Broadway in North Beach. I saw the rock ensemble The Dogs from Detroit, introduced by Jello Biafra from the original Dead Kennedys. What? Garage Rockers, the Losing Streaks from Sacramento last Saturday, and the Old Gal will celebrate 50 years of San Francisco punk rock by hosting a punk extravaganza in 2 parts tomorrow, starting in the afternoon from 2 to 7 with a live performance by the Mutants, a panel discussion with Penelope Houston of the Avengers and a few others, and a concert at 6:30 p.m. upstairs featuring Flipper and Friends, Frightwig, and Fang. Big excitement on the punk rock scene here in San Francisco this weekend.
Oh, girl,
all right, what
baby
can we?
Girl,
Yeah,
don't even play.
You are really on it, Culture Blaster. What can you tell us we can see in movies and streaming that might be worth our weekend dollar?
Well, not a lot, but I do have a cure, a panacea for that. Let's get down to the biggest opening of the weekend.
Panacea is a ding.
Fill my bleeding heart. Scream 7 is here, and alas, the 7th time isn't the charm for the franchise. Horror aficionados love these movies. And I'll be straight up, the previous few Scream movies were pretty damned entertaining. And we have the welcome sight in Scream 7 of the franchise movie vets Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox. They're back. But this is probably the least entertaining installment of the series about the serial killer or killers in the Halloween mask known as Ghostface for obvious reasons. Anyway, Campbell is back as the series' longtime, seemingly unkillable Ghostface target, Sidney Prescott, after a hiatus from the ghosty goings-on, a few films she took off. And now she's married to a cop played by Joel McHale, and they have a teen target. Oh, no, I'm sorry, a teen daughter. Anyway, Cox is back as longtime TV reporter Gail Weathers, who has endangered herself movie after movie due to her obsession with the Ghostface killings. Gail isn't alone, since the franchise is loaded with young lunatics that are either obsessed with Ghostface or playing Ghostface. And spoiler alert, Scream 7 has its share. It also digs into past killers and victims in the series, including some cameos from noted former cast members. I will not name names so as not to ruin it for fans. Yeah, needless to say, there are there were the red herrings, who's really Ghost this time, the grisly killings. And I'm sure series maven Kevin Williamson, who directed and co-wrote this, he has done before, thinks he has the formula down, and he does. Formula is the key. Despite some good jump scares and dark gags, the ultimate vibe for this viewer was tired. Actually, Scream 7 feels less like a slasher movie, despite the requisite violent, crazy killings, and more like a zombie movie, since the franchise seems like an undead thing that continues to stagger into theaters and eat up the audience's money. Scream 7 is in theaters across.
Help me, at the end of the other Scream offerings, do they take the mask off and you see who it is? I mean, do they?
Yeah, it's usually old Farmer Brown, and he would have gotten away with it if not for these crazy kids. No, of course, they always reveal who it is, and it's always different, or is it? Anyway, yawn.
All right. Scream 7, he says pass on it. Go ahead. What else do you have?
So Dreams is set primarily in San Francisco and Mexico, and it reunites leading lady Jessica Chastain. That's right. She's a Academy Award nominated, approved, and we love her. She is, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, a Bay Area girl. And filmmaker Michelle Franco, who collaborated on a very moving 2023 drama called Memory. In Dreams, hey, isn't that a Roy Orbison song? Different. This is different. A wealthy San Francisco socialite, played by Chastain, has a torrid affair with a talented young ballet dancer, played by Isaac Hernandez, but he's a Mexican illegal who crosses the border to continue their relationship despite the danger, and he wants to try to become a member of the San Francisco Ballet despite his illegal status. I guess they don't check your papers at the door of the company. I don't know. Anyway, Ms. Richie Rich can't get enough of the young stud, so she does all manner of this and that until push comes to shove instead of grind. Limousine liberal meets third world hottie as a sense of impending doom looms. The performances were good. The settings are familiar and often lovely. It's our San Francisco. The immigration issue is timely, although there aren't any, big scenes with ICE agents beating anybody up, although we get enough of them on the news. But some of the sex scenes are a bit overheated and smirk-worthy. There's some dialogue that literally had me laughing as I was watching. And the actions of the lead characters are so self-destructive and self-defeating in this situation that it strained belief on some level. I thought Memory was a better film. This is okay, I guess, and I like to support indie films made by talented people. And again, Chastain and her co-star Hernandez are good, but I wasn't crazy about Dreams.
All right. So far, we haven't hit one you really like. What's next?
Another one I felt really bad about having to dump on. In the blink of an eye. All right. So the lives of a Neanderthal couple, a modern couple played by Rashida Jones and Daveed Diggs, two performers that I really love, and a near immortal spacefaring caretaker of human embryos on the way to a distant star. She's played by Kate McKinnon. They are somehow linked up in director Andrew Stanton's In the Blink of an Eye. This is ambitious, but kind of heavy-handed. And, it's really disappointing. After Stanton's work at Pixar as an animation director, he scored big with Finding Nemo and especially WALL-E, which I think is one of the better offerings from Pixar. And he also did an unfairly maligned live-action adaptation of Edgar Rice Burroughs' sci-fi adventure novel, John Carter of Mars. But In the Blink of an Eye, it tries to be highfalutin, it tries to be noble and profoundly moving, and it just doesn't hold together somehow. The connections and intersections between the three segments, between the Neanderthal couple, the modern couple, and the Kate McKinnon character, really stretched, my patience, among other things. I go into these movies wanting to be entertained. I obviously want to be moved, and I'm so disappointed when talented people do something that has so much potential but doesn't really hit the mark. Okay. It is, by the way, in case people are wondering, only available on Hulu, and I think it's been sitting around for a year, so it's potentially something people thought, we're not going to bring this to theaters. Oh, and by the way, lots of great effects work. It looks beautiful. And again, we have some named performers. It just didn't work. Try again, Mr. Stanton, because I know you've got talent.
0 for 3 so far, although there's one sort of lukewarm.
Right.
But
So
Dreams, I would say.
My favorite movies this weekend are on Amazon Prime Video, and they are just wildly entertaining or just absolute fun. And one of them is The Bluff, which is set in the 19th century. It's a Caribbean pirate epic. And Priyanka Chopra Jonas Priyanka Chopra Jonas plays a retired pirate queen whose husband, who's another captain, is captured by the last of the pirates, including one played by Carl Urban, who has a bone to pick with the Chopra Jonas character because there was a betrayal when the two of them were sailing the seven seas, ripping people off. So he's coming after her. He's coming after her treasure. She's got a son by the captain that's been kidnapped and held for ransom. There is she has a younger sister. The setting is a lovely island. There's swashbuckling. If you want to buckle your swash, the Bluff is the place to do it. There are sword fights. There are explosions. It's just a lot of fun. I mean, shiver me timbers. You know, actually, with the lovely Priyanka Chopra Jones as the retired pirate queen, my timber was shivered. And this thing is on Amazon Prime. It was directed and co-written by Frank E. Flowers, and it's just pure entertainment, and you can watch it at home. Is that enough to appeal to you?
That's pretty cool. That seems to check all the boxes. I love that.
It's a lot of fun. By the way, her husband is played by Ismael Cruz Cordova, who is a familiar face from a variety of prestige dramas. He's good. Everybody's good, and they don't take it too seriously. They have a lot of fun with it. That's called The Bluff, and it can be seen on Amazon Prime. And let's wrap up with maybe the easiest sell imaginable. The great documentary director Morgan Neville, the guy who did 20 Feet from Stardom, Won't You Be My Neighbor about Fred Rogers, Roadrunner about Anthony Bourdain, and Thank You Very Much about Andy Kaufman, has turned to Paul McCartney, and he has created a deep and languid and revealing portrait of a musical icon who just happens to be a decent human being with flaws, of course, but a big heart. It's all about Paul McCartney's life from the point where the Beatles broke up through the solo career that brought him acclaim, through the forming of Wings, his rock band with his wife at the time, Linda Eastman, and the success they achieved. And there are a lot of interesting talking head situations. They have photos by McCartney, Chrissie Hynde, Sean Lennon, the McCartney daughters, and Mick Jagger, and members of Wings that are still with us all check in, and so does Paul. And we see this remarkable man and his music as it developed in the wake of him leaving and John Lennon, his partner in music, leaving the greatest rock band of all time, arguably the Beatles. Again, you can see this thing on Amazon Prime. It had been in theaters for a week, but I wanted to wait until people could watch it at home.
Cassandra is right. Languid is a ding word. It is true that this probably hits all of us. Excuse me. It probably hits all of us in a way that, it may not hit others, but man, if you grew up with Paul McCartney and then you live the transition to Wings and, now he's sort of the elder statesman of rock, but he's still super vibrant. I went to a show and the guy moves around on stage and, it's pretty amazing. He's like 82 or something, isn't he? Mike, I don't know how old he is, but he's got to be 80.
He's pretty old. I think Jagger has a year on him, but I just wanted to say that I came away from this thing just continuing to admire the guy, and he wants to live a life. He doesn't want to be encumbered by fame. He was lucky enough to achieve it. His talent and skill is unquestioned. But, what's lovely about it is that he chose to live his life his way and never really ostentatious. And that's kind of a high mark.
Ostentatious is a ding word. We're so sorry, Uncle Albert, says John Watson. Very, very good
Big
reference.
shout
Hey,
out.
by the way, was there actually an Uncle Albert, Michael, the
Yes,
Culture Blaster?
there was. Uncle Albert is mentioned in the course of this. And I have to point out that particular song, I love the first half of it. The We're So Sorry, Uncle Albert part. I think it's one of the most gorgeous melodies he ever wrote. But the other part where it turns into like Yellow Submarine.
I agree. It's
Admiral
weird.
Halsey,
It's like a circus.
I would like to actually surgically remove that
image is
part of the
hideous.
song if I possibly could.
It becomes this sort of like the music that you'd bring on like jugglers to, or something like that. All right, listen, Culture Blaster, I got to wrap up. Man on the Run, the Paul McCartney life through the forming of Wings, Chrissie Hynde, Mick Jagger, Paul, family members. Sounds like a really great watch, and you can see it where?
Amazon Prime Video.
All right. The Bluff, also on Amazon Prime. He loved it. 19th century Caribbean pirate epic, retired pirate queen, Brianna Chopra Jones. Is it Carl Urban?
Yeah, Carl Urban is the adversary. And, honestly, it's junk food, but yum.
In the blink, that's again on Amazon Prime. It's called The Bluff. In the blink of an eye is the Neanderthal couple and modern couple and the space traveler. And he liked the ambitious nature of the project, but he felt it just didn't really work. In the blink of an eye, you can find in theaters. Dreams.
No, you cannot. You can find it on Hulu.
How dare you speak to me that way? All right, it's on Hulu.
What?
All right, it's on Hulu. In the blink of an eye, is on Hulu. Dreams. Good performances and settings in San Francisco. Overheated sex scenes, he notes. Script had issues. Strained belief at times. Jessica Chastain is in it. He qualified, I think, because I speak Culture Blaster, I got like C plus B minus out of you on that. Am I wrong?
That's fair. I don't want to denigrate, the filmmaker, and I don't want to denigrate the two lead performers. And
denigrate's a ding word. Yeah. All right,
anyway.
we get the idea. C plus B minus. Scream 7 is how he started, and Michael says the magic is gone. It just doesn't quite work, but you'll see a lot of cameos, and maybe if you enjoy that, go for it, but otherwise it's pretty much not working.
Went to the well once too often, Kevin Williamson, in my book.
Gotta keep going until you know it's too many times going. All right, Michael, we appreciate you, adore you. Glad I saw you on the floor there at that Warriors game. I thought, wow, this guy is connected. Very, very cool. And I guess I'll see you next week back in the home studio. Is that right?
Yeah, so get those delicious cupcakes ready, Mark, because
yes, I will have some Sweet 106 Bakery cupcakes ready to go. You can read Michael. If you like listening to him, read him. You'll enjoy it even more. TheVoiceSF.org, TheVoiceSF.org, the musings, the magic, the literary brilliance of Michael Snyder, who comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Culture Blaster.
So long, Remarkables. We love you.
Yeah, baby, we do.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
All right, we've got to move on,
And now,
everybody.
your
I
comments.
can't get everything in. Just can't do it. Let's look and see what we can get in quickly.
Why are you yelling?
They're cutting talent. Are they cutting ad rates? Yeah, by the way, they are cutting ad rates.
Are they?
Says Harry. I'm talking about the purging at the Next Star station in Los Angeles and New York. They are. They're not getting the ad rates they used to get. They're not getting them in radio. They're not getting them in television.
Yeah.
CC Ryder, we read this on the air before, and it was a great comment the first time I saw it, and I really liked it. Art is fine with 10 euros. Big shout out. I am surprised by the images. If this honor guard continues to stand in formation, there should be a ceremonial sign reflecting the accusations, especially in cases where abuse of power plays a role. This was in reference to what?
I don't know where the honor guard was.
Albert, do you have any idea? I feel...
Albert, thank you.
Not quite sure, no.
Unless I can...
Google it.
Somebody could put it in context.
But thank you for the 10 euros, by the way. 10 euros.
We know where that, we know what context that's in, man. Thank you.
I think he got that from Europe. His currency.
Excellent as always. Thank you, Mark, Kim, Albert, Remarkables. Appreciate you all. And with that, thank you, Jane. The weekend is here, my friends. For those who are in Los Angeles and around iHeartRadio, I'll do KFI today from 3 to 6 Pacific time. The John Cobelt show I'll sit in. Very different than here.
You've
but
been
we'll
on
talk
a lot
more.
lately. Yeah.
We'll talk more about the Paramount merger and or the proposed acquisition of Warner Brothers, and we'll get into some other stuff too that'll be sort of California-centric. From across the globe, thank you everyone who has supported this show and continues to support us. A couple of you have sent some great emails to me. I'll share those in next week. And you've also made some great contributions to the show. As independent media, we celebrate you and we thank you. We'll see you Monday. And until then, Shadow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Kim is doing the after party show over on the
Out of time. Bye-bye.
after party station. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Kim. Until Monday. Bye-bye.